Somebody asked me a question today, and I had a hard time coming up with a definitive answer in a short period of time. And usually, when somebody asks me something, I have a pretty quick answer now. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe my opinion is based on, maybe you don't agree with it or whatever. But like, I usually am firm. Like, I come down on one side or the other of issues, I don't fence straddle. I'm usually pretty definitive, but this question really got me thinking. And the question is, and I want to know from y'all in the comments section, who are the top 5 coaches in college football today? I went back and looked. I've done a lot of videos on my channel over the years where I rank coaches within a conference. Like I'll do maybe, a series of videos where I rank the SEC coaches, then I rank the Big 12 coaches, the ACC, the Big 10, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that I've ever done a video where I talked about just rank the head coaches, who the top 5 coaches in all of college football, regardless of conference, division, whatever. And it was harder than I thought it would be. So I'm curious what y'all think, and at any point during this video, feel free to let me know down below what you disagree with in terms of what I say, what my opinions are, and let me know what you think your top 5 coaches are. I had a pretty easy time narrowing the list down to 7 potential coaches that I thought should be in consideration for any list of top 5 head coaches you're going to make. And in no particular order, here are the 7 coaches that I think should be in everybody's top 5. Some combination of these 7 coaches should make up everyone's top 5 in some particular order. So again, this is no order here, but here's the 7 coaches. Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. Jim Harbaugh, Dabo Swinney, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, and Nick Saban. I think if you have a list of top 5 coaches and any other coach other than one of those 7 is in your top 5, I automatically disagree right off the bat. I think those are the 7 best coaches in college football today. And I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to agree with that, actually. I looked up some other people's lists of like top 25 coaches in all of college football. These are the top 7 in almost every single ranking you look at. And I couldn't find a ranking anywhere that had a head coach other than one of these 7 in their top 5. Some of the coaches that were right outside of this in some of the lists that I looked up were like Kyle Whittingham of Utah. And look, I'm a huge Kyle Whittingham fan. He gets the absolute most out of the available talent he has at Utah. But I've said it before, I'll say it again, I've said it a million times. Recruiting is probably the biggest aspect of college football coaching today. So if, the fact that you don't recruit in the top 10, to me, is a negative against your coaching. I understand that it's great to have the 50th best roster in the country and finish in the top 25 and a pretty good on-field coach if you do that. But you have to be able to recruit, in my opinion, to be considered a top-level football coach today. And you can say, well, if he was at another school, maybe, he could recruit better. Well, maybe he could. And maybe one day we'll find that out. But I like Kyle Whittingham. I wouldn't have him in my top 5. Josh Heupel had a really good year last year. I don't think anybody's putting him in the top 5 of any head coaching things right now. I mean, the guy's never even won his division, never mind a conference or made any playoffs or anything like that. He's only been at Tennessee a couple of years. He's got potential to move up. I saw James Franklin listed in the top 10 of some polls. I saw Lane Kiffin. I don't know what the infatuation is with Lane Kiffin. I like Lane Kiffin. He's entertaining to me. He's one of my favorite coaches. I wouldn't want him coaching my team. I can't figure out what Lane Kiffin has ever done that has people infatuated with him, but I saw a lot of top 25 lists that had Lane Kiffin like somewhere between like 10 and 12, and I'm just like, I don't know. If I could pick any coach in college football, I'm pretty sure I could think of 12 coaches I'd rather have before I ever got down to Lane Kiffin's name. But anyway, Sonny Dykes was in the top 15 of some of these lists. I don't know. One good season. I don't know. What were some of these other names that were on? Luke Fickell was in the top 10, and he made the playoffs. But this is going to be his first year at a Power 5, so as far as putting him in the top 5, no, you got to hold off on that. Lance Leopold from Kansas, Kalen DeBoer From Washington, Chris Kleeman, Kansas State. Jimbo Fisher is kind of the outlier. It's extremely hard to win a national title, okay? Really, really hard. And Jimbo has one at a different school at Florida State, and it seems like forever ago. It was 10 years ago. He made the playoffs the following year in 2014, but lost in the first round, and has really just done absolutely nothing since he's been at Texas A&M. And if there's anybody that wants to put Jimbo Fisher anywhere near the top 5 just because he has the one national title, I would ask you this. Do you think at any point ever Ed Orgeron was a top 5 head coach? He had the one-off year, and I'm not taking that away from him. But it gets to a point where a coach has a long enough history on their resume to where you can go, yeah, you know what, he did have that national title 10 years ago, but look what he's done since then. Mac Brown at North Carolina, I don't see him here. He has a national title. So I do give a lot of weight to national titles, but I mean, come on. Jimbo in the top 5, I don't think so. So really, to me, it comes down to these 7. And I'm going to tell you what order I would have them in, but it comes down to these 7 for me. Jim Harbaugh, Dabo Swinney, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban. I mean, how many on this list have national titles? Kirby, Saban, Dabo. That's it. 3 of them. Kirby, Saban, and Dabo all have national titles. Jim Harbaugh's made back-to-back playoffs, but doesn't have any playoff wins. Brian Kelly has made the playoffs a couple of times, but doesn't have any playoff wins. I was with a different team than he's with now. Lincoln Riley's made the playoffs, seems like a million times, and can't win a game. Ryan Day's made the playoffs, has won playoff game, but has not won a national title. So that's kind of the postseason breakdown of those 7 coaches. I guess we'll start at the top of the list because I think this is going to be the most debated one. And it's Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. And look, this guy's a Georgia fan. Yes, I'm a Georgia fan. There ain't a soul on planet Earth that can fog a mirror that doesn't think Nick Saban and Kirby Smart right now are the 2 best coaches in football. I'm sorry. If you've got anybody else's name on your list right now other than Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, you just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't. It's that simple. I don't know what else to tell you. The fact that I'm a Georgia fan doesn't make that statement not true. The only debate is which one of those should be 1 and which one should be 2. Now, well, let's start off this way. I think Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. I'm not saying that to see whether you agree or disagree. Maybe you think it's LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or whoever you think it is, okay? I think it's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's last couple of years in the NBA, particularly his years with the Washington Wizards, he was not the best player in the league. He wasn't. Michael Jordan was not the best player in the NBA his last couple of years with the Washington Wizards. He was still the greatest of all time, but at that particular moment in time, he wasn't the best player in the NBA, okay? He wasn't. He wasn't. It doesn't mean he wasn't the greatest of all time, okay? I think Kirby Smart's the best coach in football today. Nick Saban is the greatest head football coach of all time. No debating that, in my opinion. I've heard some people throw out some other names. I laugh. There has not been a better college football coach in the history of college football than Nick Saban, period. The greatest of all time. But right now, Kirby Smart's the best coach in football. Back-to-back national titles over the last 2 years. A win over Saban during that 2-year period. Well, he's 1-4, whatever the record. Yeah. And back then, Saban was a better coach. In 2017, Saban was a better coach than Kirby. In 2018, Saban was a better coach than Kirby. 2019, 2020. But not today. Kirby, today, right now, is a better coach than Nick Saban. Nick Saban is still the greatest of all time. And if you don't understand the difference between those 2 things, here, we'll go with something more recent. A lot of people think Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time to ever play in the NFL. All right. His last year in the NFL, he wasn't the best quarterback in the league. Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whoever you want to name. Tom Brady was not the best quarterback in the NFL his last year in the league. He wasn't. He's still the greatest of all time. Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach of all time. He's not the greatest college football coach today. It's Kirby Smart right now. It's Kirby Smart right now. So I would have Kirby Smart at 1 and Nick Saban at 2. Now, who would I have at 3, 4, and 5? We've got Jim Harbaugh, Dabo Swinney, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, and Ryan Day left on the list. I'll tell you who it came down to me between 3 and 4. It came down to Harbaugh and Dabo. It came down to Harbaugh and Dabo. Dabo's got 2 national titles. Harbaugh's got none. Clemson has missed the playoffs the last 2 years in a row. Michigan has made the playoffs the last 2 years in a row. It's kind of a similar argument to me as the Saban and Kirby argument. You might say overall, when we look back on it 20 years from now, that Dabo was a better coach overall than Harbaugh. That may end up being the case. Right now, I'd take Harbaugh over Dabo. I've got questions about the direction that Clemson is headed in the new age of college football involving NIL and transfers and sort of mentality in recruiting and things like that. I'm not saying I'm right about that, but I've got those concerns. He's missed the playoffs 2 years in a row, whereas Harbaugh's made it 2 years in a row. You're splitting hairs here, in my opinion, with Harbaugh and Dabo. And really, you're splitting hairs with Kirby and Saban. If somebody wants to come on here and tell me that Saban's better than Kirby today, I'm not going to tell you you're 100% wrong without question. I just think Kirby's better today than Saban. I know a lot of people are going to disagree. A lot of people may disagree with this 3 and 4, but I've got Kirby 1, Saban 2, Harbaugh 3, and Dabo 4. I just think Harbaugh's doing it a little bit better right now. He's recruiting better. He's made the playoffs 2 years in a row, whereas Dabo has missed it a couple of years in a row. He's beat his in-state rival, or not in-state rival, but he's beat his rival 2 years in a row. Clemson just lost to their rival, South Carolina. So I'm going to go with Harbaugh at 3, Dabo at 4. And then number 5 is hard. You've got Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, and Ryan Day. I'm going to have to go with Ryan Day at 5. And it's just, he has a playoff win. The other two don't. He made the playoffs last year. The other two didn't. Brian Kelly's got 2 playoff appearances, I believe, right, with Notre Dame, where he lost in the first round both times. Last year was Brian Kelly's first year at LSU. And look, he exceeded expectations. He won the West. He beat another coach on this list, Nick Saban, and won a New Year's Six game. Brian Kelly did. But I've got to put Ryan Day at 5. He's got playoff. He's got multiple playoff appearances. He's got playoff wins. That's something that Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley don't have. So I would probably have Ryan Day at 5, which would make my list Kirby Smart 1, Nick Saban 2, Jim Harbaugh 3, Dabo Swinney 4, Ryan Day 5. As far as why I don't have Ryan Day ahead of Dabo or Ryan Day at 5, it's national title. I guess would be the answer there. Dabo's got 2, Ryan Day's got none. Again, you're splitting hairs with these, really. I think if somebody wants to swap Kirby and Saban, I don't think that's terrible. If somebody wants to swap Harbaugh and Dabo, I don't think that's terrible. If somebody wants to swap Dabo and Ryan Day, I don't necessarily think that's terrible either, although bordering on it. I've got Kirby Smart 1, Nick Saban 2, Jim Harbaugh 3, Dabo Swinney 4, Ryan Day 5. Just missing out on my top 5, Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly. Let me know down below if you think I'm wrong. What would your top 5 coaches be? And maybe who are some coaches you think active in college football today? Maybe some younger coaches or some coaches who maybe just got to a new school. Are there any coaches right now that you're keeping an eye on that you think could potentially crack into this top 5 at some point in the near future? Let me know. Anyway, there you go. Controversial video, I know. Top 5 college football head coaches in college football today. Not of all time. That would be Nick Saban. Best college football coaches today.